Should be streaming, people, on Facebook, YouTube, more importantly on dailychaos.news /show. So that is the place. That is the place to go and watch this show, please. If you agree with me about having had enough about this censorship from the social networks, so-called social networks, dailychaos.news /show. Please, want to hear what your comments are. Got Dave Fergie on tonight. David Ferguson, God bless him, popped in, old friend of the show, old friend of Daily Brexit, which was the thing that morphed into Daily Chaos. And we're going to be talking about the state of the world, basically. Poverty pandemic tonight, coming up in about 4 or 5 minutes' time. Right, here we go.
No, I'm not a writer.
Okay.
Music for a bankruptcy sale.
For those who
Coming up in just a couple of minutes' time, folks. Dave Fergie. No, do us a favour. Oh, blimey. Yeah, do us a favour. Couple of things. First of all, dailychaos.news/show. Please pop over there. That's the place to watch this thing. And secondly, hey, share it. Share this thing. Yeah. Hey folks, good evening, good morning, good afternoon, good people. Welcome to the Daily Chaos. Ordo ab chao. Yeah, you know what I mean. I'm Olly Connelly. Thanks for turning up. And now, poverty, pandemic. Yeah, apparently we had a pandemic or something. Maybe we'll scrutinize that a bit. Maybe we've done too much scrutinizing of that already. What about the real pandemic on the way? Poverty. Yeah, that's where we're going, no? Don't let the cure be worse than the cause. That's what Trump said, yeah, everybody ignored him. How many more will die out of poverty off the back of, I don't know, hysteria? Plus, who's awake? Who isn't awake? What happened? Come on, why can't people wake up? We'll analyse that a bit. Plus, you know, this, that, geopolitics, I don't know, stuff. Brexit. What's going on with Brexit? Yeah, Dave Fergie here, old friend of Daily Brexit that preceded Daily Chaos, is here to discuss all that. Oh, hey, Dave, can you hear me, sir?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Good. Wow. Now, look, please do us a favour in the comments. Can you tell us if you can hear us without any loop back or feedback or funny audio effects as well? Because I had to make a few changes last night. If you watched the show, we did have a few issues with some loop back, which I tried to sort out and hopefully have. So let me know in the comments, please, if you can hear the audio all right and what have you. And if you have any problems throughout the show when I start playing clips online of whatever, stuff like that, then let us know if you can't hear. Dave, Fergie, God bless you. It's been about, I don't know, 3 years since we did a show.
Is it 3 years? My God.
Yeah, yeah man. Yes. So your pate is shinier and mine is growing.
Thank you for that.
That's where we're going. How are
I'm
you
very
doing?
fortunate in that my sister-in-law cuts my hair.
Ah, right.
Because
Good.
for a while I was looking like that fella out of Back to the Future, you know what I mean?
Oh,
Good
yes. Yeah.
gracious, or whatever he used to say, I can't remember.
Oh, what? Christopher Lloyd. Christopher Lloyd.
Yes,
Lloyd.
that's the
Yeah.
chap.
I'm beginning to look a bit like him as well. I need to go and get a haircut. But the last time I got a haircut, my hairdresser, this was pre-lockdown, gave me a cold. And so I thought, you know what? That doesn't bode well, does it? But actually, all this coronavirus stuff, I do wonder how much of it has, quite frankly, just been a bit of a con.
Yeah, we got to start off with a hairdresser joke. The last time I went,
Yeah.
I said, surely, because I've got not very much left, I get a discount. He said, I'm sorry, sir, there's a search fee.
Yeah. Very good.
Okay,
Very
sorry,
good, sir.
What was the question again? Sorry.
Well, I don't know. I don't know what to think, to be honest with you. I mean, this coronavirus thing, clearly it can be very, very nasty. And it also seems to be quite contagious. However, when you actually look into the figures and look into the policies of how they come up with the figures, more to the point, from, for example, the Centre for Disease Control in the States and the BLM in the UK government, their advice notes to doctors, to people that fill out death certificates, and from the Centre for Disease Control, so Faust's kind of lot, stateside, Dr. Faustus lot, whatever, is, if in doubt, put COVID-19 on the death certificate. And by the way, if it turns out after an autopsy that didn't have anything to do with the person's death, we're not going to change the official mortality rate. Since then, just last week, there's this new antibody test, isn't there? And they're actually saying in official notes about this in the UK. No, sorry, the CDC again, the Centre for Disease Control in the States, so kind of like the WHO in the States, if you like. They're saying that if you do test positive for COVID-19 or coronavirus, it might have nothing to do with COVID-19 at all. It might just be that at some stage in your life, you suffered from the common cold. In other words, all the stats, yeah, there does seem to have been a bit of a bump on the death rates, yes. But also, we know that a lot of, for example, cancer patients haven't been receiving any treatment. I just wonder really, what is the truth about coronavirus, and how can we have any confidence in a mainstream media that back in February, March time was telling us that if we had the temerity to question whether or not this thing came from one of those labs in Wuhan, for example, maybe Chinese biowarfare, or just questioning the official narrative from a totalitarian state, that we were conspiracy theorists, despite the fact that the President of the United States is asking those questions. Dave, I don't know what to believe.
Well, can I start off by wrecking the show?
Go on.
I don't believe that COVID-19 exists. Why would I say that?
Yeah, go on.
Because they haven't been able to isolate it yet. Now, I'm not saying there hasn't been a nasty flu epidemic out there, for sure. And I'm not saying that it couldn't have been a weapon released by some nasty person, either in China or perhaps down the road in Bill Gatesville. I don't know. It's certainly been something. But in all of this, and this is what makes it so crazy, they haven't isolated it. So when it comes to testing, what the hell are they testing for? Well, I think I know. They're testing for corona. And we know there are, over 25 strains of it around from way back. And we used to call it the common cold. And I read the other day that a very eminent doctor, is it Dr. Buttar, said that something like 80% of us are carrying corona in our systems. So that's what they're testing for.
And also, this thing's apparently somehow mixed up with HIV. I don't know. I just don't know what to believe. And
Well,
we're
do you mind if I swear? It's a mind fuck.
It is. Yeah, you're not supposed to. Yeah, swear.
I'm not supposed to. Okay,
yeah.
sorry about that.
But it is though. It is. I think I don't know. I'm just very confused.
You've got to go back to the roots, haven't you? I think, we've been talking for years about this New World Order thing and Agenda 2020, was it 2030, and the 2050s out there now. And all the conspiracy guys have been talking about this is going to come, and all of a sudden it's here.
Yeah.
It's here, big style. And you've got to ask yourself, well, what's going on here? Is this planned, or was it a panic move? Because just before all the virus thing happened, of course, you were getting outbreaks all over the world. Hong Kong was on fire. People were starting to get very unsettled about the way in which their lives were being dictated to.
Yeah.
So was it because of that they went, whoa, we better press the button quick before we lose control? I don't know, but that's one possibility.
Yeah. I mean, it has been very convenient, hasn't it? So far as Hong Kong's concerned, and so far as, for example, France is concerned, and various other hotspots throughout Europe, it's been very convenient, this coronavirus, to put down the yellow vests and so on and so forth. But then we get the BLM stuff, and I don't know, it just struck me. Maybe I am, thinking too much into things, but it seems to me that the way the media has applauded, having told us all, lockdown, be scared, get under the bed. And then all of a sudden it's, get out on the streets, Black Lives Matter, and let's be racist against white people and stuff like that. And it's just like it's been, and try and destabilize the Trump presidency or whatever. Not saying I entirely trust Trump, but it does seem to me that they're using
Monty
things.
Python's Flying Bloody Circus,
Yeah, I mean, Fergie, are we being... Maybe this is a leading question, but are we not being totally played by the media, who's basically owned by the same people who run, pretty much all these globalist outfits that want to control us, and that are hand in gloves with the UN, stroke the WHO, stroke China, stroke these days, what actually is the difference?
Well, what I got out of it straight away was how everything happened worldwide at once. How come all these governments made the same moves at the same time? How could that happen? And the procedure to handle the virus, in quotes, was the same. They all followed the same pattern. And you have to ask yourself, have all these governments been infiltrated by the same crowd? Very possibly. Because, you and I get up in the morning, we say, hey, we want to have a good day. We want to go out somewhere, maybe do a bit of work. These guys get up in the morning and say, how can we take over this organization? How can we take over this council? How can we take over this state? That's in their mind when they get up. And I think over time, the plan has been to infiltrate all the centers of power on the planet. And we saw it in action for the first time with this virus thing. And I happen to think their hand was forced. I think they believed that so many people were waking up so quickly that they had to do something. So I don't really think it was planned. I think it was a bit of a panic move.
Really?
And,
really?
And how do I back that statement up? Well, because as we're now seeing, the virus is dying. The number of deaths has plummeted. So we've gone from deaths to cases.
Yeah.
So that's the new number, isn't it? Cases.
Yes.
And what is a case? It relies on this, what do they call it? The RT-PCR test.
Blimey.
Which in fact is not testing for COVID-19.
What's it testing? It's testing for coronavirus, presumably. Anything in the family, which could include flu or common cold.
I can give you a bit
admitted
more information
by the
on
CDC.
that. Because what it does is it tests for minute pieces of the genome, right? Very small particles. And then the test then amplifies it and says, "Whoa, there it is, the big corona. You're positive," right?
That's
You're
right.
positive.
And then, so what's that
any
for then?
symptoms? You feel great. You're kicking your height. You're playing golf. You're out there, but you've got it.
So what does that mean? You've got to have a passport? In other words, basically, we're on the road to getting chipped. I mean, that to me, that's what it looks like. Let's take away your cash, cashless.
The madness. Listen to the madness. The madness is that here you have a disease, but you don't have any symptoms. So where does that put the future of, say, school kids who want to get out of school? You know, excuse me, teacher, I'm feeling ill. I've got no symptoms, but I think I'm ill. Come on. Can you give me another example of an illness on this planet that you can catch and not have any symptoms? Because that's what the bloody body's all about. The body goes, hang on, I'm not feeling so good. I gotta go to bed. It's madness.
No, Dave. You're not allowed to trust in your immune system anymore. That's racist. That is anti-trans, and you know you probably need to be executed.
Immune systems matter.
Yeah. You know what? You would think so, wouldn't you? So I take it that you do not entirely applaud the idea of everybody walking around in face masks.
You mean the muzzle? The muzzle.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, you know, if these people would do the research, more and more doctors are coming out and saying these things don't work. You know, it's called the standard mask called N95, isn't it? Which means that 95% of the stuff don't get through. Well, it's
really?
the 5% that's going to get you. You know?
Yeah.
But it's madness. I mean, I was out today. I was out getting my car done today, and there was a learner driver coming the other way. I mean, it's difficult enough to try and learn to drive, isn't it? This poor girl had this mask. It was almost over her eyes. I thought she's going to hit me. Yeah.
It is dangerous. I walk around the supermarket.
I'll tell you one of the good things about this, because we can now spot those who are awake and those who aren't.
Yeah. Well, what the people?
Masks,
yeah.
You can read that and say, hello, we agree.
Well, I put mine on to go in the supermarket because it's the only way I can not starve. But then I've got my glasses on and my glasses steam up and I can't see what I'm doing. And then I bend over to pick up, I don't know, a packet of cornflakes or something, and my glasses fall off, and I scratch the lenses, and all the rest of it. I mean, these masks are not actually safe in terms of the practicality of everyday life. And you make an excellent example, driving. It is a hindrance. You know, it's not good to drive around with steamed up glasses.
But of course, if you look at the instructions on the back of the pack, and these things are normally used in hospitals until this thing, it says, were once, dispose of within an hour. Yeah. So, I mean, if you're in a hospital, there's an argument. My good lady wife is ex-NHS. And she rarely wore a mask. When she did wear a mask, it was because there was a possibility of being splashed by material. That's why they wear a mask. It's not to keep infection out. It's to stop them getting splashed with a bit of blood or whatever, you know. So
let's just have a quick look and see some of the latest on the deep state war, if you like, that's going on over this whatnot. According to the US Sun, which is doubtless all very, very fake, but nonetheless, virus battle. Trump wages war on the Center for Disease Control over tough school reopening policy after lashing out at Dr. Faustus. President Donald Trump has taken aim the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention's impractical school reopening policies a day after slamming Dr. Anthony Fauci, Trump railed against the guidelines released last week by the CDC and revealed on Wednesday morning that he plans to meet with the federal agency about their expensive guidelines. I disagree with the CDC on their very tough and expensive guidelines for opening schools. While they want them open, they are asking schools to do very impractical things. I will be meeting with... I mean, the bottom line is that there is a big battle that's going on, it seems to me, around the world. And Trump's hesitance with regards... the reaction, he didn't, let's be clear, he never called coronavirus a hoax. He said that the way it was being politicized by the Democrats was a hoax. He don't say it's a hoax, does he? I mean, that's too strong for somebody in his position, but I suspect he believes it. Well, he has certainly been questioning what the truth is about it. But I wanted to ask you, in Blighty, Boris's position on this was very curious. No, to me, it was almost as though he didn't buy it. He, in the early days, was talking about herd immunity, the Swedish model, basically, which seems to have done fine for them, by the way. And I don't think they shut down their economy and created, 3 million unemployed, is it, in the UK? 10 in the States? Off the back of this thing. They didn't do that. Now, Boris, he did talk about herd immunity, but then he did a U-turn. He kind of seemed to be muzzled. I just wonder what your thoughts are about how much of is it the case that these people are in charge, and how much actually not at all?
I don't think Boris is in charge one bit. I think, as you rightly say, he had no intention of locking Britain down, and he was going for this herd thingamajig, and then he caught it, which was very, very coincidental, wasn't it? The timing was immaculate, and perhaps it was designed for him not to make it, or at least that's the rumor I heard. And his own doctor pulled him out of where he was and took him into a different situation. They were going to intubate him, apparently. And we all know that 80% of intubation turns to death.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the other incredible thing. I look at these people in the AHS.
A ventilator, going on a ventilator.
Yeah. And we're all clapping them, but it took them an age to work out that by using a ventilator, you were likely to kill the people.
Yeah.
And the percentages were high 70s, nearly 80%, I understand. But despite that, these mindless idiots still kept on giving the same treatment. And there was a doctor that I saw on YouTube, and he said, I'm puzzled. He says, this doesn't seem to be working. Doesn't seem to be working. It's killing people.
Yeah, that's right.
And of course, they put a stop to most of that. Because if there's a breathing issue, they can treat it very simply with an oxygen injection. They can up the levels of oxygen very, very quickly. You don't need a ventilator.
What about the impact? Moving slightly more over, slightly aside, what about the impact on kids? Because I know there's folks around dailychaos.news, the forum, that are concerned about the impact on children with this social distancing thing, kids particularly, that like obviously to play, and this is all part of the growing process, learning how to share and how to fend for yourself and all the rest of it, interacting with other kids, that they're being denied on a national policy basis to a large extent now. And also, what about the impact of that more broadly on society? I mean, hopefully this is a short-term thing, but I don't know. They're talking about they're now Fauci or whatever in the States is warning us, there's going to be another pandemic next week, and it's going to come next year, and it's going to come from pigs in China. So they're already telling us about the next one that, I don't know, maybe he's invested in that lab too. They did invest. Fauci invested. He invested in that Wuhan lab where possibly this came
two
from.
things. They played their hand. They can't stop now. And in my humble opinion, although I hate being negative, this is the end of the beginning. Right?
What does that mean?
Not the end.
What does that mean?
Well, I mean, it's ongoing, and they will think of new ways to scare the population to death. Now, we get back to the kids thing. That concerns me a lot. Now, the first time we saw the imposition on children of false scenarios was the paedophile thing. And I remember going to a shop in the 90s, I think it was, and we were queuing up at the till. And there's a little girl in front of me, and she had a toy that her mother had just bought her. And I said, "Oh, that's a lovely little toy." And she just backed away from me, you know. I said, "I'm sorry," you know. And then the mother said, "Oh, it's all right. He's not a problem." And I walked out of that shop and I thought, what's going on here?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, everybody was a paedophile.
Yeah.
And I think that was the first piece of indoctrination the kids were covered in. And I think what's happening now is 1,000 times worse. I mean, these poor kids sitting in a schoolyard in a circle, they can't talk to their friends. Apparently they can throw a ball, but they can't catch it. I mean, what are they doing to these poor kids? You know, they're going to grow up in a 100% fear environment. And that to me is a major concern because, I mean, hey, my life's nearly run now. You know, I've seen it all, maybe.
You've got a while yet, sir.
These kids.
You've still got some hair to lose.
Oh, shut up. There's two there, and there's one there. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I feel it's the kid thing that gets to me most of all, because they are running scared. They're running scared.
You're right.
And you know, when we grew up, we went out, we mucked about in the street, we fell over, we cut our knee, and mums and dads didn't see us for 8 or 9 hours because we were out in some field somewhere having a great time. But we learned to understand responsibility. We learned certain things that you couldn't do. You know, we had the school of hard knocks, so you learned the hard way that life ain't that easy quite early on. Early on. And you learn that life needs a little bit of courage. These kids, just 100% fear. And somehow we have got to change this education system quickly. Otherwise, for example, if Adolf Hitler invaded this country now, we'd last about 3 days.
Yeah.
They'd all be running away. You know, the mask thing. I mean, what is it now? They reckon something like 70-80% versus 20%. So there's 80% people living in fear. Many of them that won't go out of the houses. Even though the lockdown ends, they won't go out of the houses.
It's incredible.
I mean, I have a very good friend who I obviously can't name on air, and she's a lovely girl. She's a brilliant girl. She's been in her house for 3.5 months. She won't go out. She won't go out. I tell a lie. She went out last week, but that was the first time in 3.5 months. And I've got some very good friends, really surprising me. You know, people that I thought have got a bit of guts, who are totally running scared, totally believing the government line, totally buying in to the fact that this is the worst thing since the bubonic plague. I don't understand it. I'm very disappointed. I thought we Brits had the bulldog spirit. I always thought we were the ones you could rely on if there was a war. Now I doubt it very much. So somehow we've got to change it. We've got to change this narrative, and we've got to resist. We've got to stand up and say we're not going to take this anymore. Remember the old film? We've got to do that, because if we don't do
that's right.
that,
Network. I want
that's
you all to
right.
open your windows and stick your head out and shout, "I'm not going to take this anymore."
But somehow we've got to wake a goodly percentage of the population up to the fact they might not believe it's a hoax, as I do, but nevertheless, they must be questioning the change in instructions on a weekly basis. You can do this, you can't do that. I mean, Leicester, what an absolute.
Go on.
Do you know how many testing centres there are in Leicester?
No idea. Leicester,
8.
for anybody that isn't aware, has been put back down in lockdown in the UK as an exception because there was apparently a peak in cases. I've seen videos of shopkeepers saying this is just a joke. I don't know anybody with this thing.
Listen
Nobody.
to this.
But my business is going down. So carry on, please, Dave. Just a bit of backstory.
There are 8 testing centres.
Right.
Until the middle of June, there was 1.
So they're testing more people and then wondering why they're getting more positives.
Correct! That's why the bloody numbers have gone up.
Yeah.
We've got 7 new testing stations.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether you've seen the things on television where one side of the road is locked in and the other side's open. I mean, this corona is a very intelligent virus. It says, I can go on this side of the road. They gotta leave that one alone.
Yeah.
It's absolute madness. But
it is nuts.
I mean, the latest thing today is airborne.
Right.
Have you read that?
Go on. No, not that. Maybe. I don't know. Carry on.
Because I think people have woken up quite quickly to this case thing.
Mm-hmm.
And, there's a lot of stuff on the internet now about the fact that the testing is flawed. I mean, the guy who invented the RT-PCR test stated quite clearly not to be used for diagnosis. Not to be used, and that's what they're using.
So what was it supposed to be used for?
It was a lab test to try and isolate certain genomes and something to do with RNA, which is beyond me. I don't know.
Yeah. So the bottom line,
sorry.
Is it? I don't know. Let me just take a few comments. See what people have got to say. Mookie Puck says, I only know 1 or 2 people who believe the COVID narrative. Everyone else thinks it's a certain level of BS. Carlos, if they can prove it's not airborne, then no reason for masks. Then thick as shit. Some people. Swanee says, good, keep them in lockdown. Along with Bradford and Birmingham too. And Jay is saying a pandemic with a political ideology, ridiculous. And Tanis points out that my hairdresser is brilliant. A young lad, I trust him. It was built for manufacturing, not diagnosis, I think, says Mookie Puck, referring to that.
Thank you for that. Thank you.
Let me just bring in this story from Summit, which is Paul Joseph Watson's gaffe, talking about Kanye West. Quite interesting. Who's running for president now. And interesting, we were talking about that the other night on the show, whether or not he's doing it to try and actually take votes from the Democrats because he's a pal of Trump's or was or something, don't know. Or maybe he just wants to run for president, or maybe he's hoping to scupper Trump. I don't know. Anyway, no idea. But this is very interesting, something that I think a lot of us have been considering for quite a while now. Kanye West says they want to put chips inside of us. Kanye West gave a wild interview to Forbes, according to Summit, in which he asserted that vaccines were the mark of the beast and that the true agenda behind them was a plot to put chips, RFID, chips inside us. Much of the media coverage of the interview centered on the rapper's supposed distancing of himself from President Trump. Oh, surely not. After Kanye stated, I am taking the red hat off, the MAGA thing, with this interview. However, his other comments were significantly more incendiary, the ones that, of course, they won't cover anywhere in the fake stream media.
Did you know, incidentally, that the RFID can be introduced into the body via a needle?
Yep, that's right.
That's small.
Yeah, they can put it in your hand,
and you've got to say these people are super evil.
Let me just finish this. Let me just finish this, and then I want to chew over this with you, Dave. Kanye revealed that he contracted coronavirus in February, but that he wouldn't take a vaccine if one was produced because it would represent the mark of the beast. They want to put chips inside of us. They want to do all kinds of things to make it where we can't cross the gates of heaven, said the singer. Adding that this was the saddest thing. While supposedly walking back his support for Trump, Kanye did describe him as the closest president we've had in years to allowing God to still be part of the conversation. Over the weekend, Kanye announced that he was running for president this year, although many reacted by suggesting that this was merely a stunt to promote his album and his wife's enormous transcontinental bottom, Kim Kardashian, the most famous large ass.
Tell you the interesting thing is Trump actually supported his move for president. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah. Really?
Is there a game being played here?
I don't know. But he has got some fascinating points about chips. Yeah, because I mean this is not just some theory. Yeah, this is a fact. That there are places on this planet, such as in Scandinavian countries, where they are paying their staff. Companies are paying their staff a couple hundred guilder or euro or whatever it is in order to be chipped. And this is just to try and make it it's safe. They've got it, so you can have it and all the rest of it. Before you know it, everybody's got it.
I don't have to have a pendant, I can go straight into my business. I can just go, fools.
Where could this lead, Dave? Have you done much research into RFIDs and what they can be used for?
No bit about it. And of course, it's been coming for 15, maybe even 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you go back to one of David Icke's books years ago.
Mm-hmm.
He predicted this.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes a lot of sense. I mean, you've probably seen all of these movies where the special forces are located in the middle of the jungle because they've got something in their arm. The military have been using these things for some time.
Yeah, it's like dog tags.
These evil bastards who are trying to take over the planet want to be able to control us all on a 24/7 basis.
Mm-hmm.
And if you wrap that into this new 5G thing and their ability to absorb masses of data, I believe this place in America where the data center, they've got 40,000 employees. 40,000.
Yeah.
And Binney who used to be in the CIA, said they've got the capability of tracking every move you make, every phone call you make.
Yeah.
They can map your life out even now.
What's that, the NSA? NSA?
Yeah. If you add a chip to 5G, then that's in real time. At the moment, they've got to process the data. But with these...
And then get rid of cash.
Devices,
get rid of cash. Sorry? And then get rid of cash.
Absolutely.
You can just swipe for everything with your, your thumb or...
But I'll make a prediction. If they do succeed in getting rid of cash, I believe the public will find a way. And it might even be something like Pepsi Cola tops.
Carrots. Potatoes.
We will find
more value.
Another... I'll give you an example. I was in Kenya a few years back, and the currency in Kenya were Nike trainers.
Really?
You could buy anything.
I should go to New York. They've got them all over the place. None of them in the stores anymore.
I mean, they're like gold in Kenya if you've got Nike trainers. So you don't need money. You just give them your Nike trainers and you can buy whatever you want.
It's ironic,
isn't it? I think
isn't it?
that plan is flawed. I think people will find a way around it because people need an alternative currency to operate. They don't want to be tracked for everything they earn. So I think that's a pipe dream. I think that the cabal is going to have a real problem trying to do that. I mean, people talk about Bitcoin.
Just as an aside, Dave, I wonder how many of those BLM protesters are genuine ones, not the looters and the AntiFa lot. who are marching, protesting, and all the rest of it, wearing Nike trainers, made in a sweatshop.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean,
okay.
I'd like to say one thing about Black Lives Matters.
Go on. You can say two things if you like.
I was brought up in Liverpool in the 50s and the 60s, and we had a very cosmopolitan population back then. And I'll tell you, there was no racialism in Liverpool.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we got on with each other. It was a magnificent place to live.
Yeah.
Big Chinese population. The Asian population wasn't that big then, but certainly the African West Indian population was quite considerable, and we got on great. I mean, I was a muso, so you know, I was in bands, and there were lots of bands of black guys in them. The only time I came across discrimination, there was a band called Farron's Flamingos, and they were pretty big in Liverpool.
Mm-hmm.
And Brian Epstein wanted to sign them, but the condition was they had to get rid of their black drummer, a fellow called Trevor Murray. And Farron, who I know pretty well, said, "Go and stuff yourself." So he wouldn't sign. That was the only time I ever saw any form of racial discrimination in my growing up years.
And that was Epstein, the Beatles manager.
Yeah.
Really.
So I mean, this Black Lives Matter thing, it's driving a wedge. It's not resolving the problem.
Yeah.
I think most people in this country are very open about different races. We're very cosmopolitan here.
Yeah.
And of course, there are the fringe on the left and the right who have a problem with different races. But I think on the whole, we are probably one of the most welcoming countries on the planet. So this is a creation. This is another cabal creation trying to divide us. You know, and for as long as they divide us, they're winning.
Is there an argument to say that we should somehow pay for the sins of the father, who may or may not have actually been the father at all?
Go away. You know my answer to that one straight away.
Well,
I mean,
that's their
I was
argument.
born in 1947,
that's their argument.
way after slavery. Whatever went on before, nothing to do with me.
Mm-hmm.
I have no guilt about that. I've lived my life in an open and
Let me
fair
ask you
manner.
another question.
I'm not going to be guilty for some bloody slaver who, in all probability, was nothing to do with my class anyway.
Yeah, or even British. Very, just as likely he was from Africa, actually, an African tribe.
But what everybody forgets is the United Kingdom was, I think, I'm right in saying, the first country to want to abolish slavery. And it spent fortunes doing that.
Yeah. We only just stopped paying for it.
Fortunes.
We've still been paying for it.
We were paying for it until about 1960, weren't we? Or something?
No, until about 2008, I think.
So
I think actually as recent as that.
These things.
Or maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong, but very recent.
The newspapers are not interested in talking about that at all.
No.
No.
So, okay. What is the agenda here then? Because we are having it, white people. I hope it's all right that I identify as white. I hope that's not some sort of a hate crime. What is going on?
Terrible thing to say that.
Wherever we look now, it's like the implication is you don't deserve to be able to breathe. Am I being unfair?
Well, it's part of the plot, isn't it? I mean, these evil bastards know that for as long as they can divide us, and it goes beyond race, it goes into politics, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. Left, right. You know, they'll find a way to divide us. And for as long as we're stupid enough to go along with the idea, they're winning. I mean, the whole politics scene.
Who is going along with it, though? Because I'm not sure people are going along with it. We're being fed it, have it shoved down our throats. But I don't know how much people are going along with it for the simple reason, apart from a few, really, in my opinion, very ignorant youngsters who've been tutored by Marxists who've just come out and they're, doing their job experience or something, work experience, and got no experience of the world. Apart from those brainwashed few, in my opinion, it seems to me, the vast majority of people, I'm not sure what they think because I'm not seeing them marching, and I'm only getting a narrative which is a one-way street from practically the whole of the mainstream media, which tells us to think this, we're terrible or whatever, need to interracially mix or whatever, but without, to me, actually any evidence of people saying, yeah, we go along with that. I mean, one thing that would suggest to me the opposite is, for example, Boris Johnson's 80-seat majority at the last election. In other words, kicking Corbyn's Marxism into touch. But I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Well, they're still out there. I mean, what are my politics? My politics are the politics of life. I have no allegiance to any of these parties. But I have some friends who are red hot socialists. And what they don't seem to understand is there's never been socialism in the United Kingdom. The Labour Party, for a brief moment, a la Anna and Bevan, were doing stuff that was pretty good, formation of the national health, etc. But since then, there's nothing to do with socialism. I mean, this Starmer fellow, this millionaire barrister.
Yeah, another one. Yeah.
with a knighthood leading the Labour Party. Can't we have a docker? Can't we have an electrician? Can't we have somebody who really represents the working man? And then there would be an opposition. So this is their game. Good evening, sir. How are you?
David, good evening to you. Very well indeed. I was going to say, in actual fact, there was a Communist Party. And it was the second Lord Milford, who was a great uncle of mine, who led it. He was the first communist peer in the House of Lords, and his wife used to own the it was the communist newspaper, and he inherited a vast fortune from one of our family companies that was the Schweppes business, fizzy drinks and you know who. And he was a raving lunatic. No one took him desperately seriously. But he believed that hardcore communism was the future of Britain. And his grandson actually is a leading QC, the current Lord Milford, who's a self-made multimillionaire, representing interests like BP. So it just shows that socialism and communism does not work and is not suited to the UK. And there it is. But
we keep rejecting it.
It's not fundamentally socialist.
We keep rejecting it. The only time that people remotely went for it in recent times was with Blair, because they thought that he was a conservative. And it turned out he was a warmonger. And then, we know the deal now. We just need to put him on trial or whatever. Right. Okay. Maybe.
Don't you think that Brexit has opened everybody's eyes? Because for the first time in my lifetime, people from all ends of the spectrum were together.
Well, David,
conservatives, liberals.
I think the last election result, in actual fact, demonstrates. The surprise red to blue votes in the north, industrial areas, where in actual fact they've suffered under the damage created by Tony Blair, where in actual fact you've got people who would never have considered in their lifetime having voted Conservative.
I know a few of them. Well, it's absolutely stunning, because there's always this thing about my father voted Labour and I voted Labour and my it was that attitude, wasn't it? And talking to some of these people around the time of Brexit, they were saying, they don't represent us.
Well, it's
losing our jobs to these bloody foreigners.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny you should say that. I used to be in the steel business, and I was visited by the union that was the reformed British Iron and Steel Trade Confederation, and they were reformed in the 1980s under Thatcher when British Steel had been privatised, and I was convinced. I was advised to hold the meeting, because there could be no harm. I was convinced that we would absolutely loathe each other. Gentlemen from the old steel industry who ran the Steel Workers Union. And we got on like a house on fire, because in actual fact, they'd become effectively a workers' cooperative at the time with, I think, about 47,000 members. And what they cottoned onto is they could increase the standard of living for their members in traditional industrial steel areas, which were labour voting, by cooperative purchasing of electricity, telephone, all the things where in actual fact you got a much better price: car insurance, health insurance, life insurance. And it meant that it took the pressure off the employer to increase wages that much outside of the retail price index. And for me, it was a cultural revolution. Being, I still am a staunch Thatcherite, but I thought, you know what, the working man has been underrated for the simple reason it suits the bourgeois, self-appointed elite to treat them like cattle. And I've got far more in common with your working man who's a member of the steel union than I do with an awful lot of people who waffle on in Oxford and Cambridge and actually the House of Commons. Yeah. And again, the last election result demonstrates that the silent majority ultimately gets on its feet and gets on with the job. And the problem is, the cultural elite, self-appointed, who are grandiose with their opinions and their views, in actual fact, will always be beaten by the backbone of Britain. And all these recent riots and the police running away from the Black Lives Matter, etc., etc., I think the people of Britain have had enough of all this nonsense. And with Brexit, getting our national freedom, sovereignty, and identity back, in actual fact, hopefully, courtesy of the Daily Chaos, on an uncensored basis, will send the message. Vote with your feet. There's nothing wrong with it. You don't have to be silent anymore with your views, which are firmly held.
Yeah, I always thought Brexit was the first step, because this military two-step that we've had in this country and in lots of other places, America, etc.
Military two-step.
It's just a farce. It's a farce, because it doesn't matter who you vote in, you never get what you've been promised.
Well, duopolistic
no responsibility at all. So how do we change it? Well, we've got to change it. I like the Swiss system. I think that's really
direct democracy.
Serious decisions go to referendum. And that should be the case here. I mean, we're talking about HS2 now.
The problem is, with that,
if
Dave,
it went to a referendum vote, there'd be about 95% no, don't do it.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, what's
that's
the point of
whoa, Rodders, one second. Just one problem. I love the idea of direct democracy. I completely applaud it. However, I do worry that people don't really know the facts, and particularly young people. That being socially savvy or whatever, media savvy, they're the ones that would maybe vote the most. They don't know, and because we don't.
Am I the only one
civics.
Live?
We don't. Well, we don't teach civics.
Below.
We don't teach civics. So actually, direct democracy, whilst it sounds like a great idea, and it is a great idea, are we actually mature enough as a society? I think we've degenerated ourselves as a society. I worry that we're not ready now to have that kind of responsibility.
You know what? I think you make a very good point there. And the problem lies with our educational institutions that have been allowed to run amok for the last 40, 50 years. And in the words of Enoch Powell, if you've spent decades importing third world countries into Britain, what do you expect? Don't complain that Britain turns into a third world lawless society. And what's been the inspiration behind this? What's happened to David? He seems to have disappeared.
He's gone. Where's Fergie gone? Come back, Fergie. God bless you. Come back.
You're the only Fergie we want.
Yeah, that's right. No toe sucking. No, it is a serious worry. That is a serious worry. Look, let's take a few comments. See what people got to say about things here and there. Arthur Burton is Hillary Clinton says if she is elected president, she will use Bill Clinton as an ambassador because she can't think of a better cheerleader for America. To which Bill Clinton said, I can think of 20 and I have their phone numbers. Tanis noticed, I don't know what that is. Children of the Thatcher era have reached adulthood with half as much wealth as the previous generation, says Stuart. And hard to tell a joke in 3 syllables unless your name is Clinton, says Arthur Burton, referring to we need to increase the number of characters allowed in a comment. New chat system. And you know what, Jay Carey, God bless you, mate. It looks awesome. You've done a cracking job with it. dailychaos.news /show. Come and have a chat. Please, please, please do. Please, please do. I can see you, Charles Spencer, LaBelle, William Davies, Yvonne Tierney, and lots of other, Pauline Marsh, Lucy Dean. I can see you all on YouTube, and I know you make great comments. But look, you know what? We've got to support free speech platforms. Yeah, come over to dailychaos.news /show. Please, please, please. And I do want to take your comments equally on Facebook. Lee Smith, Rose Whitelaw, Claire Morris, Katie Smith, Toby Snook. God bless you. You're on a platform that wants to censor us. It's amazing that you even heard that the show was on, frankly. It really is. I mean it. I'm not joking. dailychaos.news show. Get there. Register. No Nick Clegg. No Nick Clegg's here. If he wants to sign up, he can actually. He won't get censored either. I'll give him a lot of what for, but he won't be censored. Right. Okay. Dave Ferguson is back again. Let's move this on a little bit. And but I do want to just. I saw this quote yesterday from the former Chancellor in the UK, Lamont, Norman Lamont, and he was saying
he's a good man. I'm a big fan of Norman.
Yeah, he's a Brexiteer and he seems like a cool guy. He was talking about this relationship that Germany has with the EU, and they're very cowed in themselves off the back of the Second World War, rightly or wrongly, and it's tragic, really. And the only way that they can, if you like, get out on the geopolitical stage is via the EU, which is why they like the EU. But on the other hand, they don't really want a federal Europe, is his opinion. He was saying yesterday, and he reckoned that the EU is just going to trundle along, much as it is, without the UK, and is basically going to be in the same position 20 years from now. Well, I mean, setting aside whether or not you agree with that or not, it does seem to me that he's missing one enormous, great, big hurdle in the works, if you like, which is that 20 years from now, Europe is going to be on the verge, it seems to me, of being a caliphate. I just wonder if in the UK and in Europe and in the United States, it's about time that people shook off this Coudenhove-Kalergi indoctrination. I know they don't even know who Coudenhove-Kalergi is, but that is the indoctrination that they have received via the mainstream media. We need to shake that off now and maybe be a little less tolerant and say, you know what, we're proud of what we are. There's nothing wrong with that. We do not want people to come in and change what we are, just as it would be rude to go anywhere else and change what they are. Is that not really what we need to survive as civilized societies?
Ollie, going back to the
no, Rodders, hold on. I want you to answer this, and I know you've got a lot to say about this. But first, Dave, Fergie, please, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, whilst a uber Brexiteer, I honestly didn't think for one moment that we would leave, because
we haven't yet.
No, true.
Strictly speaking,
the EU is an element of the NWO, and it was part of the program. So I thought, this can't happen because they'll find a way of stopping it. I mean,
still in the single market. We're still in the customs union. We're still in the ECJ.
I know.
We haven't left yet.
And we've got to see which elements Boris will change.
Yes.
I mean, I have a feeling it'll be a compromise. I think it'll be half in, half out. And at that time, I think Farage will make his play because he's not stupid. And it's only Farage that's got us this far. Love him or hate him. Yeah. So I think Boris is looking two ways. He's looking at the EU and the cabal, and then he's looking at what Farage could do. So he's between a rock and a hard place, really.
That was always going to be the case, David. I mean, I've got a very practical question, and I'm wondering if either of you can answer it.
Because they're neither of them answering my question, are they? Anyway, go on, Rodder.
Well, I was going to. I was coming on to it.
Oh, sorry, David. Carry on.
Yeah, I mean, Lamont, great politician. Where have they all gone? You know, I mean, as I grew up, you know, on both sides of the fence, Ben. I thought Ben had fantastic views on certain things.
Yeah.
Dennis Skinner?
Sorry?
Dennis Skinner, the Beast of Bolsover?
Well, should we leave him out of it? No, at least he said it the way it was, and we haven't got those personalities anymore.
Yeah.
But you take me off track.
Sorry.
I think Lamont's views, I did read them briefly, are absolutely spot on. Will we leave? Lap of the gods. We'll know within 6 months. And if we do leave, to what degree will we leave? I think the cabal is going to do everything it can to stop it. So, beyond the virus, there will be other things. People are talking about wars now.
Bubonic plague has just broken out in China.
Yeah, bubonic plague. I mean, it's a laugh a minute, really, isn't it? I mean, what can we think of today? And I think the good thing is, what I hear is people are beginning to say, hang on a minute. Well, there was that story yesterday, and now we have another story today. So the hope, the great hope, is that we go, no more.
Yes, I completely agree. I mean, I take a slightly different view. I'm like you, David, an uber Brexiteer. The reality is we have left the EU. The only thing that we are still in is
that isn't
transition.
Brexit.
It's most
in
of
itself.
it.
Sorry?
That isn't.
I say is most of it.
well, let's just be clear.
I'm going to ask
Rodders, let's just be clear. That isn't the same as getting Brexit. Brexit, that pamphlet that pamphlet that was put through the door, it told us we'd be leaving the single market, the customs union, and the jurisdiction of the European Court of Justice. Until that is done, we ain't got Brexit. That's the truth.
No, well, hang on, Ollie. To be very specific, we haven't achieved Brexit until we are out of all those. I agree with you, but we are out of the EU. And I'm going to ask you a very practical question. Imagine you yesterday won the EU lottery. We are out of the tax clause of Europe. If you win the lottery in the UK, you don't pay tax on your winnings. If you were to win the Euro lottery, I wonder what view HMRC would take if you had 120 billion as a windfall. Whether that would be tax-free, my guess is they'd say, we're out of the EU, so it's a foreign earning. And it sounds like a very moot, silly point, but that is a point about foreign earnings. And this is what companies are starting to have to get their heads around. The treatment of earnings, which previously you didn't have to pay tax, you had offsets.
Is he gone?
The HMRC
breaking up. It's that loo. He's in the loo. He broadcasts from the loo at Viscount
It sounds
Castle.
a bit like that, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, he does.
Yeah.
He does. He goes into the loo with his laptop. It's his mother-in-law, apparently. It's something
God's
to do
sake,
with
put
his
your
mother-in-law.
pants on.
Rodders?
I've got shorts. I've got shorts on this time.
Nice.
Can you hear me better?
Right.
Can you hear me slightly better?
Yeah, it's wonderful. I mean, when you get a decent microphone, it'll be even better. But no, it's good. Sir, carry on, please. You were about to answer my question, which was, are we too tolerant?
The answer is yes, but it comes back to the education of the last 4 generations since the Second World War. What I put to you as an open question, because I don't have a solution, I think that a great failing in our society, when we have Remembrance Sunday and we look at the achievements and the community spirit that this country had, people helping each other, not putting up prices, not profiteering. I mean, there was an element of that, but on the whole, people behaved with British decency. We've had several generations that have been educated by Marxists. And I blame the universities and schools. How the hell do we change our education system to actually educate children to think for themselves with British values, as opposed to you can't fly the Union flag?
Simple answer to that one.
We're not allowed to separate St. John from.
You've got to get rid of the Marxist professors.
But how do you do that on a practical basis?
Well, it's been a planned invasion, intrusion, isn't it? It's been happening for the last 20, 30 years. So we've got to reverse that.
But the point
even if it means...
Hold on, Rudders. Hold on.
Starting a new university.
Don't talk over each other. Please, Dave.
Even if it means starting a new university, which bans politics as part of the thingamajig.
Curriculum,
that's the word I'm looking for. Because, my daughter who's probably listening, she's, I better not say her age, but she's no longer 20, put it that way. And she came through secondary education where politics was involved. When I had my grammar school education, we didn't talk politics at all. It wasn't on the curriculum. She then goes to university, and although she hasn't actually said it as much, it was left-wing, 100% left-wing. So what chance do these kids have? I mean, what it seems to me is they get out into the big wide world, they see really what's going on, and by the time they get to, say, 28, 29, they're no longer socialists. But we can't wait that long.
We can't. You're absolutely right, David. But the point is, what we need is a revolution in our educational culture. And that's very difficult to achieve.
We do.
Because we ascribe freedom of thought, freedom of ideology, freedom of speech to our educational establishment, which they then deprive us of. If you want to take over a culture, you give a greater weight of voice to the minorities who shouldn't actually have a greater weight of voice. And you stop us from
they should have a proportional voice. And
did anybody see the Karen thing on BBC?
Oh, that was appalling. Absolutely.
What was it? What was it?
They were talking about this Karen mentality, and they kind of managed to turn it away from what it really is, which is somebody who's a bit sort of not up with what's going on at the moment, to a sort of white lives.
What is a Karen, Dave? I don't even know what a Karen is.
A white woman who's basically thick and shouldn't have really a voice in society. Whereas if you're from Somalia, having clung on to the Euro train, you actually deserve a better quality of life, and you should have a greater voice in terms of how our country should be run and how our cultural values should evolve. The
classic statement this girl made on the program. She said, "White women should shut up."
Yeah, absolutely.
White women. I mean, it was the men to start off with, wasn't it? It was middle-aged white men who were terrible. Dave, but now it's white women.
Dave's gone.
Yeah,
Dave's gone.
I mean, being white in our own white country, and I try not to use divisive language, and I've had a sort of practice session with my wife. Sorry to laugh. And the point is there are lots of divisive words you can use to describe foreigners. I call them nonnies, non-indigenous, and it is very clear And I'm delighted. The only thing that Black Lives Matters have been able to manage is that we can use the word black now. We don't have to refer to them as people of colour. It's you're black.
Yeah.
And if I stand next to a black man in a lineup in a police station, I'm either going to be the only white person. If I've committed the crime, it's like, well, it's him. It's like, why have you picked on me? Well, you're white, the rest of them are black, or vice versa. You know, we've lost touch with common sense and reason.
We have. We have. The thing is, you're right about...
And David, what you said earlier about Switzerland, what's interesting is if you're a mayor of a town in, for example, Zug, the canton, and you want to increase taxation to pay for new local swimming baths or whatever it happens to be, it goes to a referendum. You don't have the power of increasing tax unilaterally. And if you lose the referendum, you are forced to resign. Now, the Swiss have a degree of responsibility.
Look, hold on. Rodders. You're one of my co-hosts on this show, yeah? But you don't seem to have grasped the fact that interviewing is about predominantly listening, yeah? Asking questions and listening. No, I love you. I love your rants. I love it. But I just want to take a few comments as well. I want to see what people have got to say. And so, excuse me for shutting you down. But may you get all some wonderful points. But look, there is talk of using the armed forces as a bargaining chip, says Jeff Cole, referring to whatever Brexit deal comes up, presumably. Carlos is agreeing with me. We haven't left yet, not until the 1972 ECA, European Communities Act, is repealed. Fact, law, he says, which is entirely Gerard Batten's point, isn't it? Former leader of UKIP until they basically kicked him out. And I want to ask you now, Dave, hold this thought. I want to be asking your opinion, and you, Rodders, but you first, Dave. I want to be asking your opinion on UKIP, which is in the news today because they've lost that NEC lot, which might as well be, I don't know, work for Tony Blair, seems to me, or Soros. But the UKIP NEC makes me want to projectile vomit all over the news story. But they apparently have lost their court case against Richard Brain. And I'm going to have Alan Elder Brown on the show on either Monday or Tuesday next week, by the way, to discuss that. But that potentially is a big story. It is at the hub of the problem we have with reforming education, by the way, which Roger was saying. Now I'm doing it. Yeah, I'm going off on. But it's at the heart because these political parties, they don't want to change that, do they? They don't want to teach civics. They don't want people to be aware. And clearly, because they don't do it. And UKIP's NEC lost this case against Richard Brain. This is at the heart, is it not? It really exudes the fact that party politics is poison. We'll come back to that in a sec. Let me just read a few more comments very briefly. Arthur Burton says, Barack Obama is having a race with Joe Biden around the White House. After finishing the race, Obama says, phew, just under 10 minutes. Did I break the record? Biden replies, no, Bush did. 9/11. Power comes with responsibility, says Charlotte. Don't lord over people by deleting their comments, Jay. She's ticking off Jay. They're having a bit of a tiff. They're having a fun tiff. Amanda Rolfson, Jay, the chat, referring to this wonderful new chat system, like, whoa, man, at dailychaos.news /show, which you should be on, people, God bless you. Amanda's referring to Jay, the chat is lower than the live feed, so when typing, cannot see them, chatting away, lots of laughs. Do I need to alter something? Yes, Amanda, probably your eyesight, darling. I don't know, God bless you, Amanda Rolfson. Stuart, Nigel Farage, Mr. Walkaway, he says. Yeah, well, I'll tell you, there's a big debate there, Dave. We should have a bit more of a debate about that in a sec. Arthur Burton, Joe Biden walks into... Okay, Arthur's full of jokes tonight. Joe Biden walks into a bar and sees a pretty young blonde chick. He sits down next to her and says, so, do I come here often? Okay, that's enough. Right, yes, Fergie, just moving this on slightly, this is an interesting story, is it not, about UKIP? Because actually that is the heart of our problem, is it not? It's that these political parties have been taken over by special interests. We've seen it with UKIP. We've seen it with the Conservative Party. That's why Theresa bloody May, for example, Ted Heath, these kind of leaders we've had. We've seen it with Labour, hence Blair the war criminal, etc., etc. We've seen it. Until we change, wake up, that the political system is poison. We're not going to get anywhere in terms of doing these things that fundamentally matter, such as looking at the curriculum.
I'll try and make my answer short and concise. I mean, I've run a number of companies in my life. And the one thing I know for sure is you can't run a company by committee.
No.
You need a leader. And that leader must be given the power to control. Otherwise, the business doesn't work. And in politics, that's difficult because it attracts, shall we say, the wrong type. Now, UKIP, I mean, I was a member of UKIP in the early days, and I know you were, Ollie. They put the dirty washing in public. There's no coming back from that. It is, to use a popular word, chaos. And it would take an absolute miracle for them to come back, which I think Farage understood that very, very, very clearly.
The point you raised...
He went a different way. So I think UKIP's over as far as the British people are concerned. They needed UKIP. They needed them. And
what do you say to these people? What do you say to these people before I bring Rodders in? To that Farage did walk away, and that he was, for example, wrong to call people like me, actually, that joined UKIP because of Gerard Batten, that we were, thugs, was it? And then he kind of he did fantastically well with the EU election. I fully supported the Brexit Party, by the way, to try and dislodge the Tories out of the EU Parliament. And they did spectacularly. And that maybe did more to get us Brexit than anything else apart from the referendum. But nonetheless, he does.
Was a good choice.
Farage does seem to come and go a bit.
Yeah, he's not everybody's cup of tea. But I mean, after Farage, Batten gets to be leader, and they kicked him, didn't they? They kicked him out.
But Batten, the NEC kicked him out, not the membership. Yeah. The membership.
Well, that's a committee thing again, isn't it? If you let the I have a great phrase in business: the audience is on the stage. And I'm sorry, there's only certain types of people who can be on the stage. And with these political parties, absolutely the wrong people get on the stage. I mean, that new, what's her name? The one with the curly hair that Labour are punching out at the moment. She says,
Annalise Dodds. God, she's
Dodds.
A moron.
I mean, my God, do you think anybody's going to vote for her?
She's a complete...
Well, someone did. David, someone did. That's why she's an MP.
Yeah.
I mean,
she is so Jo Swinson.
You can't get away from the importance of impact. If you want to grow support, you've got. I'm not saying you've got to be good looking and all the rest of it, but you've got to have a strong personality that makes people want to follow you. And at the moment, these political parties are full of the audience, and they're on the stage.
Well, David, the point you raised as a businessman. Is that a camel is a horse that was designed by a committee? is the classic phrase. And the other point that you make, which I believe is an absolute truism, is that in actual fact politics is attracting the wrong type of person. It used to be a vocation. If you you did your time in industry or in the union or whatever it happened to be, but that's when you felt that there was something that you could offer society based on...
You had a ground.
And that was based on experience of real life. Now you've got people who want to be politicians from the age of 20. If we look at David Cameron, the only job he ever had was operating a fax machine in a PR company. And that qualified him to run the country as a PM? No, it was just naked political ambition. Now, the question I'd like to ask you, David, is how do we change the nature of who is acceptable as a nominee for election as an MP? And at what point do people actually feel that life is so bloody rotten under these dreadful people that they say, enough, we've had enough, we don't like you? The parliamentary nomination system, I think, has to change. And the party that actually puts it to the people, well, we've got a bunch of nominees, we're going to open it up to more of you voters in a given constituency as to who you would prefer to have as a candidate, as opposed to a bunch of haggard people who, they have a committee of 12 or 6 or 20 people, but they're not representative of the constituency as a whole. I put it to you, David, how would you change the process by which candidates are nominated?
I think it's very simple. I mean, if you go back to the 17th, 18th century, you had the rotten boroughs where they'd shovel people in, wouldn't they? They'd shovel,
well, my family was expert at that.
Aristocrats into certain seats. So for me, it's very simple. I think for a given constituency, there should be one rule.
Hold on, Dave, very briefly, can you do me a favour? I'll tell you what, it's good to see your guitar there, but
I was going to say, can you play us a tune?
Can you move over a bit? Yeah, you should play us a tune.
Yeah, sure.
Good man. Because I hadn't realised, because I wasn't looking at the thing, but most of this show, we haven't been able to see you. We've been looking at your guitar.
Well, that's no bad idea. No bad thing.
Mate.
No, but if you want my very simplistic answer, I think the nominee for a constituency should come from the constituency.
Yes.
Yes. I agree.
Understand the local issues, the local problems. That'd be a very good start.
Okay, and how long would they have to have lived in the constituency as a primary residence?
I think they'd have to have been in the constituency for a reasonable amount of time. Let's say 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd go with that.
Enough. To be put it this way, enough to be, recommended
with local
by
issues.
their peers, by the locals. The locals should be recommending the people.
That would be a good start. I mean, many other things you can do, but I think if we got that one idea into these stupid politicians' heads, because it never happened because of vested interests.
Yeah, that's right.
And they want to get certain people into seats for their own reasons.
Yeah.
But as long as we go on like this, it's going to be a mess.
Yes.
But do you know what? How do we affect change? Just accepting that we live in a quagmire and a sewer of corruption and vested interests is not helpful for our future generations.
No.
And in actual fact, if we remember in very blunt terms, when Neville Chamberlain came off his silly little plane, having met the Führer, saying, there is peace in our time, and in actual fact, they brought back Winston Churchill as a matter of desperation. And the nation said, we're not going to tolerate being supplicant to a bunch of sausage-eating krauts. No, we're going to fight them on the beaches, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, I always take heart when I get a little bit depressed by going back to the film The Dam Busters. And just as an example of British grit and gristle in the face of difficulty. And I'm perhaps over-optimistic, but the point being is that nothing will change if we're not the catalyst for it. We don't put these ideas out there where people go, that's a better idea than the situation that we currently live in. And actually, forcing people to sort of think about, I don't want, perhaps Boris Johnson representing my constituency because he doesn't live here. He doesn't have the local issues of immigration or the police running away from rioters, et cetera, et cetera. And it has to be driven by the people, but we need a popular movement and source of awareness where in actual fact, they've got the time to go, that makes sense. And it's common sense. And it really is affecting my life right now.
Well, the only way that's going to happen is if there is a crisis. And we've got a crisis at the moment, but it's not big enough of a crisis.
What sort of
crisis? Next level. But let's say things deteriorate and although I'm an optimist in many areas, I think it is going to deteriorate. I think this is.
I agree with you. We're on the brink.
So once these fools in government, are called out for the mistakes they've made over this COVID thing, and the cost to the economy and the cost to small business. I mean, probably in the region of 40,000 small businesses are going to go to the wall.
Yeah. And how many deaths?
So there's got to be a kickback. Now, we're not at that stage yet, but I would suggest by Christmas, once the unemployment figures are revealed, the real unemployment figures and the real business losses and the bankruptcies that are inevitable, I think this government will have a crisis. And if there is a moment for change, it'll be then. It can't be Starmer.
But it
cannot be Starmer.
No,
but there's got to be a beacon. There's got to be a beacon that transmits. We can't rely on the BBC or any of the mainstream media to reveal the depth of crisis that we will go through, because they will cover it up to support their political masters.
They will.
Now, just to plant the seed, David, you're a businessman. If you take the food chain of commerce down to local authority spending, the high street retail is change beyond all measure, and retail traditionally has been the jewel in the crown for rateable income.
Yep.
You pay your rent to the landlord.
Rateable rip-off, eh?
Yeah.
Commercial rates.
Yeah, the point being that the local authorities are going to be really financially strapped with that decline of tax coming in that they then spend on one-legged, lesbians from Tibet or whatever.
They basically spend it on their pensions, don't they?
Well, that's part of being a politician, is you feather your own nest whilst burning everyone else's. But the point is, that's when people, when they have an increase in council tax. I mean, the point about the Swiss system versus our system is the Swiss work out how much money do we need, therefore this is what we need to raise from tax. Whereas in Britain, we work out how much can we raise in tax and then figure out how we're going to spend it.
Or how we're going to steal it.
Or, did they steal it first?
We have one president, and that was the poll tax. The poll tax nearly brought this country to its knees.
But it was a fair tax.
It wasn't sold that way.
I know.
It was hugely bad PR.
Yeah.
But that was the one moment when serious change could have happened. It didn't, as a matter of fact, but it could have.
Well, it wasn't serious enough because it didn't actually affect people's lives, because it never really didn't last long enough. But I think the financial crisis which is about to envelop us, and I agree with you, the unemployment stats, mainstream media will try and disguise. And we need a change in the media as well in order to reform the country.
How can we do that? It's owned by 6 billionaires, isn't it? I mean,
well, 6, exactly. And that's actually what the Daily Chaos represents. And Olly and I had a chat earlier this afternoon about, how do we get broader perspective and coverage on the basis that there is no censorship. You can say what you like, you can have an opposing view, but what you won't have is editorial contrivance on this channel. And we need more media like this, because without which everything we're hearing is tailored. Can you remember when that one-legged, or the no-legged South African runner who shot his girlfriend was on the stand during his trial? I mean, it was blistering sort of broadcast, and the prosecution said, Mr. What's he called? Oscar Pistorius. Mr. Pistorius, you are tailoring your evidence. And the problem with the media for us is that all the media that we receive is tailored. And most people say, if I've seen it on television, it's from the BBC, it must be true. Now, I find that is a very dangerous society to be living in. It comes back to Nazi Germany in 1933.
Well,
how do we
can I just give you an idea? Can I give you an idea?
At least the Germans.
If you look at how these newspaper empires grew, there were lots of small little regional things, and there were lots of titles, and they were taken over until they became one conglomerate.
Yeah.
The one thing we don't do in the alternative media is talk to other people in the alternative media. The only way we're going to grow our viewing statistics is by joining together. You got to talk to UK Column. You got to talk to Max Igan. And we've got to have a cumulative presentation so that people who are looking for the truth have one central place to go to. And there are maybe, I don't know, 20 or 30 shows they can listen to.
Yeah.
Then it becomes powerful.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. And the point being, what you suggest, it's the honeycomb of independent cells, where there is not one editor or a group of editors that control the colour of the output, the colour of debate, the colour of opinion. And that's the problem that we have.
I mean, people say YouTube can't be broken, but I mean, we're already seeing amazing numbers in BitChute.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, Max Igan is basically off YouTube, but his BitChute figures are huge. I don't know whether you're listening to the Dollar Vigilante, do you?
No.
Jeff Berwick? Yeah, what a tremendous... Ollie, if you get a chance, get Jeff Berwick on the show.
Okay, thank you.
He's absolutely enormous.
Well, look, I'll tell you what. You're registered onto Daily Chaos, aren't you? You're registered on the site.
Yeah.
Look, there is on the. Let me show you people, because I want people to use this, because you know what? This is what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to join the dots. You talk about joining the dots, Dave, and you, Viscount. I know you do quite correctly, and that is what I'm trying to do. That's what Daily Brexit was about. We're trying to bring together disparate groups because together we're strong. There was a bit of a problem because people have this kind of fiefdom type thing going on, which is most annoying. Yeah, this site is a community site. I've set the thing up, but it belongs to the community. That's the way I want it to be. That's the way it needs to be. Anybody can come in here from whatever, and they can do what they want with it, as long as it is within the bounds of common decency. Yeah, I mean, really, it is just common sense, the good old-fashioned values that we were brought up with as kids. Hopefully, on the forum. Let me quickly show you. It's on the screen now. So you go to dailychaos.news/community. And this forum, which I know is a bit complex, the Viscount's been telling me that he can't get his head around it. And I don't blame him, because if you don't use forums, then they are more complicated than social network timelines. So I will do a video to explain the basics of how to use this to help. But on here, there's a place for news stories, to debate news stories, resources for activist resources, useful tools and stuff like that. Templates to send to people and things, template letters and all that. Then there's a section there's an off-topic section which is for fun, Larry the Cat, whatever. And then there's a section which is for Daily Chaos, for the site and the show as well. And one of the things on here is guests and themes. Please use it, people. If you want to propose people to come on this show, people such as you just suggested, Dave, please. Bung it in here, guests and themes, and that would be fantastic. I want people to use that. Basically, it makes my life a lot easier if people suggest, particularly if they can actually get me the guest. Now, I just wanted to pick up on a couple of other points that you made, gentlemen, as well, please. Regarding the use of social media and us getting together. I completely agree with that. What we need is a network. We need a foil to the BBC.
You need an alternative portal.
We do.
Yeah.
We absolutely do. When the web was born, I don't know if you remember. I bet you do, Dave, because I know that you're a techie, an ex-web
1997.
That's when the web was born, we didn't have the kind of the sophistication we have now. Well, actually, high street franchise type look to it, which is a shocking shame. But we had what were called web rings. Do you remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Web rings, and so you would get all people that this was the early days. Everybody was scrambling to work out what the hell to do with the web and how to make money out of it as well, because people needed to live too. And it was in its infancy, and everybody was scrambling around, wondering if the thing was even going to work. And these web rings were where like-minded people got together and they could talk about whatever their thing was. I don't know, crochet or whatever, and then you have a whole bunch of different sites all talked about knitting or something, and that is what we actually need to revert back to, it seems to me, in terms of our networking of activist type sites from different, in my opinion at least, from different political aspects as well. We have to reach out with those with whom we disagree for two reasons.
Yep.
First of all, because you don't learn anything like as much from people that you agree with, ultimately, as from people that you disagree with. And also because, you know what, it's the only way we are going to cut this vicious circle.
Can I ask a very awkward question?
So, yeah.
How many people are watching
need to do
tonight?
That. We need to do that. David Garish from UK Column, he came on Daily Brexit, and I'd like to get him back. I anything I can do, anything that site,
well,
Dave
I
Fergie,
keep talking about this
anything
dollar
that site
vigilante
can do,
guy.
that forum, use it, please.
If you go on YouTube and type in dollar vigilante, Jeff Berwick, and he's an incredible character. And he introduces lots of other shows into his vids. And it's a fantastic way to grow traffic. Yeah. I mean, for example, a typical Jeff Berwick vid gets over 100,000 views.
Really?
Yeah. Now,
how long has he been going?
Jeff.
How long has he been going, out of interest? Because I think
it's quite some time, 5-6
yeah,
years.
You see, this is one of the things. I think I was discussing this with Rodders earlier, actually, in a kind of a production meeting, thinking about how we can expand this Daily Chaos channel, and with other things and all the rest of it. And one of the problems, so far as YouTube is concerned, and it's very, very similar with Facebook, is that the early players who have been doing stuff for many, many years, people like Stefan Molyneux, for example.
Goodbye. He's off, isn't he?
They've got huge audiences. In his,
he's been banned from YouTube. Do you?
Has he been banned entirely, or has he just had most of his output cut?
Zipped. Account closed.
Really, yeah. See, this is now
on a racist grounds. He's a racist, apparently.
Is he? Yeah.
Oh God, that old chestnut. Really.
Now, if you listen to Stefan, he's a philosopher. He's a very intelligent man.
Yeah.
Nothing racist about him.
No.
He has some controversial views, but this is what you're going to get from the YouTubes and the Googles and what have you.
Well, anywhere.
But I think the way forward is to get a consolidated group of alternative sites that you can stick in one area, because people are lazy.
I agree with you.
Their attention span is getting shorter by the month.
Yeah.
So these people who put hour-long videos up, waste of time. You need little punchy 9-10 minute videos. They'll watch those because that's the sort of time span they've got available. And if they can go to one place, then they go, oh, look at that one. I'll look at this one. I'll look at that one. And all of a sudden we got power. All of a sudden we got power. Nobody's done it yet.
No. And David, the point being is that that's the stranglehold that the mainstream media have at the moment. Because if you're a Daily Mail person, you go to the Daily Mail and that's your daily read. I happen to just read as many newspapers as I can, just see what the journalists are saying and what the disparity is. If you read the Telegraph, you're a Telegraph man, or the Times, or the Financial Times. And the point being is that there is no single organ which people just click onto and go, all right, what's happening in the world? And you've got an array of different views. But the proviso is that there can be no editorial manipulation.
Correct.
The thing would survive and grow when the viewer is told one of the things which is banned, which is censored, is censorship. There is none. You can say what you like as long as it doesn't involve children or beating up women or whatever it happens to be. But they know that what they are seeing is unadulterated material, and the problem is we've been conditioned into laziness. We're given too much information on a daily basis. So we do go to the BBC, which is censored. It doesn't tell us what we actually really need to know, or what your opinion is, for instance, David.
I don't think we understand how powerful we are. But I'll give you an example. You know Ian R. Crane?
No, I don't.
You don't. Ian is another truth seeker, and sadly contracted prostate cancer, a very virulent form. It's amazing how these people get cancer, isn't it? And anyway, he survived his hospital trip round about Christmas, but he's been one of the guys who's been putting forward this alternative cancer treatment, which has resulted in a couple of people going to prison in France. I don't know if you know anything about that. They're extradited from Britain. They're now in jail in France. We haven't got time to go into the detail, but Ian gets this terrible cancer, and he's a friend of Brian Gerrish on UK Column, and they put a fundraiser up 3 days ago. 3 days ago. They needed 10 grand for him to get some alternative treatment. Within 4 hours, they had £22,000.
Wow.
22,000. That's the power we've got here. Because to get a £22,000 with £10 and £15 donations, a lot of people.
Yeah.
So somehow we've got to find a way of bringing them all into one pot.
Dave.
Then we're powerful. We're powerful.
Would you be interested in helping to make this happen? Because I'll tell you what,
I'm in
man,
the web business, so I've got
exactly. And I know that
I do it for nothing.
You did help Daily Brexit years ago by just putting out a simple guide for folks on how to use Discord, which was a nightmare, but it was great fun trying. And I know that you're into it, and mate, I'll tell you what, it would be cracking if you want to get involved.
It wouldn't be that hard to do, because basically it's a portal. It'll be links to the protagonists, right? And we'd have to have a selection procedure of sorts. But how can we generate revenue? Well, there are a number of ways of doing that. And from revenue,
I think we just need a bit of merchandising for that, really.
Merchandising, or crowdfunding really does work if people are on your side.
Yeah.
I know the UK column income was very slow in the early stages, and now it's terrific. People have really bought into them. I think it's only £3 a month or something, but the revenue stream is now very, very reasonable. And I think that's the way to go, because if you try to do it on your own, it's not possible.
It's a nightmare. And personally, I've been hitting my head against a brick wall, and I'm really, really chuffed to everybody who's been helping. Jay Carey, God bless you, man. God bless you, mate, with the site. And Rodders, who I know wants to turn this thing into a radio station. And the idea is to get the site up and then to look at ways that we might be able to get a commercial radio license as well.
Well, actually, Ollie, no. Let's
before you say, Rodders, let me just finish briefly. And personally, I completely agree with what Dave says about we need to pool a whole bunch of people that are not mainstream, fake stream, and they may have different disparate views, fine, but they basically are being shadow banned or whatever. They're not getting any airtime on the likes of the Boys Buggering Club and all that lot. Give them somewhere, a central place. And if, for example, a radio station might be a means for people to be able to platform a whole bunch of different people. I know there are one or two networks, because I've done shows on them in the States.
Yeah, do you know Richie Allen?
That would be great. Yes.
He'd be somebody to talk to. But I think we don't have to make it that complicated. There's got to be a financial method involved. I think where a lot of these sites go wrong is they put everything behind a paywall. And that doesn't work on the internet. I mean, Kerry Cassidy has just put her site behind a paywall.
Yeah, I know. It's a great pity.
Plummeted.
It's a real
Absolutely
sad.
plummeted.
Yeah, I
Sorry?
don't think that's the answer. That's very sad to me. That's not the answer at all. You're excluding
No,
people
she got kicked
from
off.
learning.
She was demonetized on YouTube. So she said, "Oh, I'll do my own site and get some subscriptions." That's not the way to do it.
No, it's
The
not.
best way I've seen to do it is from a guy called Freeman. And he's been going yonks. He's been going years. He's one of the early adopters of alternative stuff. And what he does is he has a 2-hour show. And he puts the first hour free on whatever channel, BitTube, YouTube, whatever.
Yeah.
And he gets to the end of the first hour, and that's when it gets interesting. And he says, "You want to hear the second hour?" That's how he gets his revenue. And I think that's a fair and reasonable idea that people would accept, because they're not getting ripped off. They're not having to pay up front. They're getting a little taste of what the thing's all about. And if they're interested, then they dob in $10 a month or whatever.
Well, David, the conversation I was having with Olly earlier about getting a broadcast license, in actual fact, is not to turn the show into a radio broadcast, but is to make it as blue chip as it can be, because I think some of the guests that we can get on the show, their managers or agents will say, if it's a social media platform, I mean, social media is a dirty word in many circles because it's uncontrolled and blah blah blah. And it's, if you are, I mean, just take a Nigel Farage. His manager, mind you, he's quite a brave guy, and I don't think he really cares. But a lot of people would fight shy. Government ministers, for example, they'd say, "Well, what's the show about? We need to see some archive stuff, and what's the platform that you're using?"
No matter what you did, you'd get very few from, shall we say, the right side of the tracks. I mean, what you do need to do is to attract some of the big players in the alternative market. And the only way you can do that is if you can present traffic figures to them. You say, "We've got 10,000 viewers," they'll come on. So it's catch-22. Somehow you've got to build up to a significant number, and you'll get the real big hitters on. And then people will listen because they've got their own audiences.
That's right.
I mean, if a lot of people think Kerry Cassidy is an absolute lunatic. She's got some really, really way out woo-woo views. You get Kerry Cassidy on your show, you'll have 100,000 views.
Wow.
So that's what you got to do. And I think the way to do it is to build the portal. I mean, the radio station, I've got reservations. It's an overhead. You don't have to spend that amount of money to get the message out. I mean, Olly, this program is work enough, isn't it? I mean, the preparation that you put in every day, the technical issues, it's difficult.
And I'd like to spend more time doing what I should be doing, which is reading news stories. And that's what I'm finding suffers. I come on so many times I come on the show and I don't actually know what happened that day.
Well, you need a producer, don't you?
That's not good.
You need a producer, and you can't afford a producer at the moment. So you've got to find a way to get yourself into a situation where the producer does all the techie bits, gets it all ready, and that leaves you for content. Sorry? What did you say?
I was saying, Jay, where are you?
Oh, right.
He's well, I think, Dave, we ought to do the intro with you on the guitar. Olly, you'll have to take your shirt off and show your man chest.
Me on the guitar, that could destroy your reputation forever. You're talking about royalty-free music.
Would you mind? Would you play us a little something? Go just
of course I would.
Can you play the damn
see us out. See us out.
No.
Look,
I play real music.
Go on.
But
pick up your.
We did an album. My little band. And you're very welcome to use the tracks off the album, royalty free. I don't want to.
Oh, mate, could do with some half decent music.
It's rock and roll.
It's none of that. It's not like Chilean pipe music or.
No, it's vintage rock and roll.
Because Rodders likes Chilean. He's half Chilean, but no. Liverpool.
I'll send you the tracks anyway. If you can use them, you're welcome to use them.
Pan pipes. Yeah. Oh, wonderful, Dave. Get your guitar on the go, and let's just sing song out of the show.
I'm not prepared.
Oh. We can hum.
Not plugged in.
We can hum. Because I'm not doing a show tomorrow, yeah. I'm having a long weekend. A long weekend this weekend. For domestic reasons, but also because you might have noticed. I'll let you into a little secret. dailychaos.news doesn't actually have a homepage yet. Yeah, right. It's got the community. It's got the forum. The forum. That's the hub of the site. Yeah, but nonetheless, the homepage is important. And when you see it, you'll see why. But I haven't finished it, and so this weekend I'm going to finish that homepage. If it's the last thing I do,
you'll be sorry.
And to help with that. No show tomorrow. But so this is the Thursday night show edition tonight, right now. So Dave, yeah, excellent. Wow, brilliant.
You ready?
Yeah, we're there.
What do we got here? Let's have a look.
Do it. Dam Busters.
How do you go? Dun, dun, dun.
Oh, Ollie, we are going to have the Dam Busters, aren't we?
No, not tonight. No.
Oh.
We've got Dave.
Here today down in Mobile, Alabama, working on the railroad with a steel driving hammer. Gotta get some money, buy some brand new shoes. Gotta find somebody, take away these blues. She don't love me, hear him singing in the sun. Payday's coming, the work's all done. That's all you're getting.
What? Oh, you're joking, man. God bless you. Thank you. Thank you very much indeed. Oh.
All right, I'll bring the band in.
Yeah, dude. Oh, blimey. Where's the... Oh, there we go. That's it. That's it for this week. God bless you. This has been Daily Chaos with a classically chaotic ending there. Thank you, Ferg, Dave Fergie. God bless you, David Ferguson. And Rodders. Cheers, Viscount. I'm really chuffed that we got to have that chat at the end of the show, yeah. I'm going to ask Dave, please, take control of, I don't know, something.
Something. I'll work something out. Come back.
God bless you, Dave. God bless you, mate. We'll talk more about it. I very much appreciate it. Oh, yeah.
Signing off. I need to go to the loo. It's the old man's complaint.
Ollie, I've got to sign off. I tell you what, it's the end of term, so I've got Delphina who wants movie night as
Good.
a sort of family thing.
Right. Enjoy. Take care. Lots of love. Lots of love, Rodders.
Okay, Ollie. You take care.
Yeah. See you next week.
Perfect. Okay, bye.
And thanks everybody that has come over, particularly to dailychaos.news. I really, really appreciate that. dailychaos.news /show, or more importantly, actually, in general, dailychaos.news /community, because that's where the forum is. So, get involved, get stuck in. Want to turn that into a compendium, an encyclopedic of knowledge, basically, and not just all this kind of and stuff that is banned elsewhere or what have you. Let's get it there. We can upload stuff, all sorts of different types of docs and stuff like that, stuff that otherwise is beginning to, I don't know, get lost on Google or whatever. If you can embed videos from I wouldn't bother with YouTube. If it's on BitChute, get it from there, because anyway, basically a place to bring stuff together. And if you are watching on Facebook and YouTube, you probably think that I don't care about you anymore. I do. I'm just so fed up with those networks. Yeah, you gotta, I tell you what though, some of the names, I'm missing you. You know what I mean? Get over dailychaos.news. Come over and register, and let's have a party. Take care. Have a lovely weekend, folks. Here's to us and bugger plutocracy.